shifted from a civil case to a criminal one. Now, the civil component is ongoing, but apparently this investigation has found potential criminal wrongdoing by the Trump organization. And I don't know if that means that Trump is actually gonna finally face some consequences for the first time in his life. We'll see, but let me give you the details on what's happening. So the New York Attorney General, Letitia James, is joining the Manhattan District Attorney's Office in a criminal investigation of the Trump organization. In fact, a spokesperson for Letitia James says, "We have informed the Trump organization that our investigation into the organization is no longer purely civil in nature. We are now actively investigating the Trump organization in a criminal capacity along with the Manhattan DA." Now, this investigation is looking into something that I have been wondering about ever since I heard Michael Cohen's testimony, and he did testify under oath. There were allegations that Donald Trump and the Trump organization inflated assets in order to illegally obtain loans, and then deflated assets in order to illegally dodge taxes. And so it appears that this is what the investigation is really about. Now, Donald Trump denies it. He says there is nothing more corrupt than an investigation that is in desperate search of a crime. But make no mistake, that is exactly what's happening here. But I do wanna remind you all of what his former personal lawyer, Michael Cohen, said under oath as Representative Ocasio-Cortez was questioning him. Let's watch.
To your knowledge, did the president ever provide inflated assets to an insurance company?
Yes.
Who else knows that the president did this?
Alan Weisselberg, Ron Lieberman, and Matthew Calamari.
And where would the committee find more information on this? Do you think we need to review his financial statements and his tax returns in order to compare them?
Yes, and you'd find it at the Trump org.
Mr. Cohen, I want to ask you about your assertion that the president may have improperly devalued his assets to avoid paying taxes. According to an August 21st, 2016 report by the Washington Post, while the president claimed in financial disclosure forms that Trump National Golf Club in Jupiter, Florida was worth more than $50 million, he had reported otherwise to local tax authorities that the course was worth, quote, no more than $5 million. Mr. Cohen, do you know whether this specific report is accurate?
It's identical to what he did at Trump National Golf Club at Briarcliff Manor.
Do you know, to your knowledge, was the president interested in reducing his local real estate bills, tax bills?
Yes.
And how did he do that?
What you do is you deflate the value of the asset, and then you put in a request to the tax department for a deduction.
I've been wondering about that testimony ever since Michael Cohen gave it. Because if any of us were committing tax fraud, if any of us were committing fraud in order to obtain loans that we had no business obtaining, we would face some serious criminal charges. But people in positions of power get away with so much. And so it does feel good to know that there are people looking into this, investigating this to ensure that appropriate measures are taken and appropriate consequences are paid. Now, I don't know if Donald Trump will ever really face the consequences of this the same way an average American would. But what I do know is that he's gotten away with quite a bit, and it's about time that his scams get called out and he has to do more than just pay some sort of settlement. I mean, this guy has been a fraudster his entire life. Just before he was inaugurated, he had to pay a $22 million settlement to students he defrauded with Trump University. This is a person who was handed a tremendous amount of wealth by his father, $413 million, then proceeded to go bankrupt 6 times, and had to do all these fraudulent scams in order to make money. I mean, during his presidency, he used the office of the president to enrich himself and direct money toward his personal businesses. He would insist on holding meetings with international leaders in Trump hotels. I mean, this is what he does. So it does feel nice to know that there could potentially be consequences, but I'm not about to Cenk Uygur you. I'm not gonna say tick, 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 because I know better. Like, I just know that we live under this system that might even investigate someone of wrongdoing, someone like Trump, someone who's powerful, who's been in a position of power. And even if there's undeniable evidence of wrongdoing, they'll get a slap on the wrist. I mean, we certainly saw that in the aftermath of the 2008 economic collapse, after Wall Street executives were committing fraud. I mean, they committed fraud by lying about the actual value of shares, the actual health of the very companies that they were leading. And so it's a relevant part of that story. And did we see corporate CEOs, did we see Wall Street executives face the consequences of that? Now, Manhattan District Attorney Cy Vance's office is examining millions of pages of documents that include Trump's tax returns. Investigators have deposed multiple Trump Organization officials, including Eric Trump, the former president's son, and Chief Financial Officer Alan Weisselberg. So Weisselberg is being questioned. Also, several Trump Organization properties financial dealings are being scrutinized as part of the investigation, including Seven Springs Estate in Westchester County, New York, 40 Wall Street, a building in Lower Manhattan, Trump International Hotel and Tower, Chicago, and Trump National Golf Club in Los Angeles. One of the other things I'm curious about is where that IRS audit is. Because remember, the IRS is currently auditing Donald Trump. They had to put a pause on that audit while he was serving as president. But one of the reasons why he refused to accept the fact that he lost the election in 2020 was because as soon as he's out of office, that means that the audit continues, that means that these criminal probes continue, and he certainly doesn't want to deal with any of that. But he's got to. And so we'll see where that IRS investigation will lead to, but based on who Trump has revealed himself to be, I would not be surprised that his efforts to dodge taxes are significant. And one other thing, guys, I mean, it is amazing, right? Because the way that the tax code is written overwhelmingly benefits the rich and the powerful. They get to take advantage of all these loopholes, all these deductions. That's how you get companies like Amazon essentially paying nothing in federal taxes. They get lower tax rates, they get all these deductions and loopholes, and that wasn't enough for Trump. That wasn't enough, allegedly. That wasn't enough for Trump Organization. They had to go, allegedly, to fraudulent methods in order to dodge more taxes. No one wanted to loan anything to Trump because he had gone bankrupt 6 times. So according to these allegations, he had to inflate his assets in order to obtain those loans. And he thought, yeah, I'll inflate my assets here to obtain the loans, but deflate my assets when it comes to the IRS so I can save money on taxes. No one will ever know, no one will figure it out. But then you got Michael Cohen. You got Michael Cohen, he's afraid, he's about to face some charges of his own. And he decides under oath, I'm gonna tell people the truth about what Donald Trump is doing. And so we'll see how that ends up. But it would be nice, right? If people who are rich, people who are powerful, were treated the same as the rest of us. If we actually lived in a country that valued law and order and didn't put people like Donald Trump above the law. And he certainly has enjoyed the privilege of a life above the law. Hopefully that trend changes, at least with Trump.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.